So, as part of the welcome to country, to welcome everybody here today, thank you very much for the opportunity and acknowledgement. But now I acknowledge everybody here today as the next custodians of this great landscape. As there were people before us, but now we've got the new generation of custodians, and I'm very honoured to be here to welcome everybody here to Kawana, place of the wildflowers. Wanya.
A lot of people I talk to think that the world would be better off without humans. Well, I'm not sure that I really agree with that. I think the Earth is carrying out a really interesting experiment at the moment. It's thrown us up after 4.5 billion years of evolution, or 4 billion years of evolution. We're recapitulated in a way what you see evolution do on a grander scale. You know, life when it started was a few bare threads of DNA of some sort out there in a chemical soup. And the first cells only formed as bits and pieces of that DNA came together to cooperate at some level and to create more sustainable life. The first cells, the first complex cells like bacteria, things with nucleus and so forth, only formed when whole organisms came together. The little mitochondria in our cells, our power packs. I mean, they're not originally part of us at all, if you want, part of ourselves. They're a totally separate organism that came to live in symbiosis with our cells a billion or more years ago. And those cells, those complex cells, have come together to form multicellular organisms like us. And multicellular organisms have come together to form complex ecosystems that work together as a whole. And at each level there's some sort of communication, there's some sort of cooperation that occurs. And for me, the whole story of evolution is one of cooperation, it's the triumph of cooperation through that process. Many people believe that competition is the driver of evolution and that nature, ready tooth and claw, should have its way, whether it's in our societies, our businesses, our politics, or our environment. I fundamentally disagree. I think that the real lesson to take away from this incredibly complex and wonderful world of ours is that cooperation is what drives progress. It's each of us as individuals giving a little something to that greater whole, as every cell in our body has to do. It has to give away some autonomy or something in order to make the whole prosper. In that sense, I think what evolution has thrown up with us humans, in a Gaian sense, if you want, or a global sense, is that we potentially, at least, are the way that our Earth will come to know itself. We are that part of this great Earth system that has the capacity for independent thought, that can see itself, that can analyse, that can understand the system as a whole, where in a sense we are Gaia's brain, or potential of our planet. That is indisputable. We hear in the news, we see around us that, you know, we've had in parts of Australia the warmest winter ever. We had the hottest summer ever this last summer. When you start changing the planet like that, you're changing the metabolism of the Earth, because everything responds to temperature. It's very much like in our bodies, which operate within a narrow temperature range. Change the temperature, you change the metabolism, you change the whole system. You change the way your mind works if you have a fever or get chilled. You change the way every organ works, because everything is temperature dependent. And that's true for our planet. And as we change that average, even if we only change the average temperature by a small amount, that has a big impact at the extremes. That changes extreme weather events, because, you know, temperatures are distributed over a bell curve, you know, and there's a long tail of cold days and warm days. Shift the bell curve just a little bit, and the area under the bell curve at those extremes changes quite a lot. So we will see more extreme weather events, more damaging weather events as our climate changes. And we need to be aware of that and to act on that, because it's a very, not only is it a threat to us, it's a threat to our whole biodiversity. I mean, we're fortunate in a way that if we have a heat wave or a flood in a level, we can relatively easily seek refuge. We can go into an air-conditioned building, we can move away using a car or whatever. But animals aren't in that position. Animals and plants are exposed to those conditions come what may. And you see the result of that in places like Melbourne during the great heat wave of earlier this year, where thousands of individual koalas, possums, other species perished. They simply couldn't find refuge. Birds fell dead and dying out of the sky as those conditions became intolerable to them. So for our sakes and for the sake of biodiversity, we have to do something about climate change. Thank heavens we are active in that area. The clean energy bill that passed through our parliament several years ago now has seen greenhouse gas emissions from the generation of electricity decline by 9% in just 12 months. That's an incredible achievement that we all need to celebrate. It is rare for a developed country to act so efficiently, or any country, to act so efficiently to reduce its emissions with so little impact on the economy. We've seen the economy indeed grow through that whole period. Overall, our emissions reduced last year by just 0.2%. And the reason that emissions from electricity declined greatly and overall emissions didn't decline as much is just that our economy is still growing. We have seen an increase in fly-in, fly-out workers around the nation, which has meant the amount of jet fuel.
There has been a bit of a concerted campaign to discredit the notion that our climate is changing as a result of our activities, and often those involved have been rather playing the ball and not the man. Oh, sorry, playing the man and not the ball. And as an excellent communicator, you've often been the target of this. I'm just wondering where your personal resilience meter is at the moment. Being such a public figure, how do you handle public criticism and how does it affect your optimism?
Well, look, I think it is really true that they can't win the argument based on science or any rational thing. I mean, so they do play the man. They attack you personally. And it has been really tough. I mean, over the last 12 months, I've had to have federal police protection of my home for quite a period. I've had to threaten to sue the Australian newspaper twice and settle out of court. Various other very unsavoury things gone on, which is, can have a big impact. But I guess, and it often does feel quite lonely. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but it does. So being here today with a group like this is really great for me as well as you. But ultimately, I think you've got to be driven by the fact that what you're doing you believe to be the right thing to do. Right? That's really, for me, it's that, and those times out when you can enjoy nature and see and reaffirm why it's the right thing to do. So I think that's basically it. And look, you've just got to, I look at it as a game of rugby. There's, if you get out there, there'll always be somebody trying to trip you up or kick you in the balls or do something terrible to you. As long as you've got that ball tucked under your arm and you're heading for the try line, you've won the game. So just ignore them if they try to play the man. You've just got to keep on going and get over that try line.
Thank you, Stephen. The golf link is sorted, and the other stakeholders that are involved, like sports fields and polo cross or whatever, do they know where they're going? Like, is that?
No, it's all up for grabs a little bit. That's the problem. And really, in many ways, what we would like as Green Hills is for council to be arbiter, just to say that really. Council has been incredibly supportive of our project. Don't get me wrong on this. We work very closely with Sunshine Coast Council. We admire them and they admire what we're doing. And I think we work very closely together. But Council has to be the arbiter between not just us, but between other competing groups who want things. So basically what we're asking Council to do is, because Green Hills is not a leaseholder on the precinct. Our interest is simply in the conservation of protected areas. And we're just saying, look, isolate the areas that need to be protect it, we'll raise the funds, we'll plant the trees, we'll do all that for you, and then you negotiate a political problem on the playing field with somebody else. We don't want to be part of the debate in any shape or form.
We joined that rescue about a couple of years after we joined the WILVOS, so probably about 18 years ago. And that rescue, that works better. That rescue was a group of women that decided to go off because they realised that bats really need special attention, special fundraising, special equipment, special workshops. So they started that rescue, and Ridley and I straight away joined them because we were totally consulted by the darlings. So today, this is what we do. It's good old rescue, rehabilitation and release. This is what we want to see in the end. We want them out there having little babies. This is one of the little guys that comes into our yard every day. Little girl, I should say. Now, you're going to see this little guy a few times on this show today because this is Luke. You may have read about Luke in the last Land for Wildlife magazine, and Con Heffer's here in the front. Did a beautiful article on Luke. Luke is a potteroo, and up until January, when Luke was given to us as a bandicoot, we didn't know we had potteroos in the area, and it's just at risk and just a little bit out of Maleny. We've heard now that we have betons there, so we're going to do some monitoring, and hopefully we'll find out exactly what's happening in that neck of the woods a few years later. Now this is where we're releasing rehabbed flying foxes because they've been in care for quite a few weeks. They lose a bit of muscle tone, so you can't just go to a colony and just go, there you go, up the tree. So we weigh and measure them. You're doing this record system all the time, basically, and we let them fly over a paddock. So that if there's something wrong and you're not quite sure, or we're not quite sure if they're ready, they all just belly flop onto the grass. We can take them back and give them a little bit more rehab. Most of the time, they make it though. They go down there and they start flying up into the trees. And then we go, fantastic, they've done it. But they've got to be able to have that initial flight for us to know exactly that they're ready to go.
I know, it's a bit hard. Then she basically eats the entire thing. But, you know, a bit harsh, but it does help to nourish her eggs when she comes home. It's all about girl power in the world of insects. I absolutely love it. I'm always threatening my husband with things like this. I actually have a video of this happening on my phone, and I'm like, hey, look out. Now, when they do come to lay their eggs, they lay them in a structure called an ootheca. And it's like a big bag. What they do is lay up to about 200 eggs in a little hard core, and then they spin this squishy foam around the outside which hardens. It feels a bit like styrofoam if you squeeze it. And that will keep the eggs nice and warm and dry, and also stop things like ants from breaking in and trying to steal them. Okay, moving on to our stick insects and our leaf insects, which belong in the order Phasmatodea. And the main difference is these guys all have claws. And you can see, if you look at their body closely, they lack all of those things that our mantids have for hunting. You can see they don't have the really large flanks, they don't have the big sharp spines. Any spines that they do have on their body are used mainly for defence and also to aid in their camouflage. Very slow moving, and you can see much smaller eyes, and their head is rounded and really clogged down in their thorax, so they don't have a great range. He's got about 300 legs. I do say about 300 because I keep trying to count them and I keep losing count. I've gone up to 150 on one side.
This isn't an Australian collection, is it?
It's from all around the world. So the next box I show you is actually going to have the kinds of things that you'd recognise from the backyard, and that's why I thought we'd do our box.
Where's the tarantula from?
South America.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We do get Australian tarantulas, not around here, further north, so around Townsville, Mackay, sort of up there. I actually had a pet one about that big for about 7 years called Big Bertha. She was very cool.
Oh.
Freaked out my family. Over 2,000 worldwide. They can be brown, green, lots and lots of different shapes and sizes.
But how long do they live?
Now, Gretel takes about 6 months to get from a little newly hatched nymph up to an adult. When she hatched out of her egg, she was about this big.
What did you feed her then?
Gum leaves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They actually feed on a lot of different plants, not just natives. These guys are found in guava trees and other weird things. And about 6 months to reach adulthood, and then the girls will live for about another 6 months. The boys are a little bit shorter lived, so about 3 months. Yeah, like they're girl power. Well, it's because that abdomen here that you can see, so this is a female, is full of literally hundreds of eggs.
How can you tell the difference between male and female?
It's unfortunate the girls are the really fat ones.
Oh, okay.
The male of the species is similar colour, but about as thin as a pencil, and also really quite good at flying. So you can see her wings here protruding from her back, but simply she's too fat to fly.
Drama movies lie, so do documentary movies, continually. Much of the time what you're seeing is not happening in the wild, it's happening in some captive enclosure. You watch the Attenborough shows, which are visually beautiful and audibly beautiful, but most of the audio is created in a Foley studio much later on. It has nothing at all to do with the noises the animals make. So we're continually being fed this notion of what is not real, and it's a sort of an idol that we're being fed about the nature of wilderness, and yet there is not a place on the planet that hasn't been impacted by humans. There is no wilderness. There is no pristine. The notion of harmony and balance of nature, I also argue, is a bit simplistic, because all species are constantly in a state of flux. The balance has always been changing, and that's why most species have not survived. The arrival of the Aboriginals dramatically changed the Australian environment. It changed the nature of the environment, it changed the species here. Now, of course, the great problem is that we're quite cleverly now doing all that at an extreme rate. But nevertheless, all the environments that humans currently inhabit are natural inhabitants, because we are natural ourselves. Creative climatic changes across millennia have resulted in various mass extinctions. We're accelerating that change now. Now, I'm not forgiving that. There is no excuse for what we're doing. We are just another animal species, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to reduce our negative impact.